entertainment, insights. Don't take life too seriously. Welcome to Brainsky Unleashed. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Brainsky Unleashed. Today, I've got an awesome guest, Nicky Billou. He is a Christian immigrant from the Middle East. We're going to get into that for a little bit. He's a podcaster with over 620 episodes, proven track record on helping to take their incomes from, up to $100,000 and up to $500,000. And he's even had some of these taken to 7 and 9 figures. So I thought this could be a really great conversation to have. So Nicky, thank you so much for joining the show.
Hey, Thomas, man. Thanks for having me on the show, brother. It's great to be here on Brainsky Unleashed.
All right. So let's just jump right in here. Christian immigrant from the Middle East. So where are you from?
I'm originally from Iran. And
Okay.
when I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran. And my late father, God rest his soul, he could see the writing on the wall. This was not going to be a place to raise a Christian family. And I was 11, right? I didn't want to leave my home. I didn't want to leave my friends. But Dad made a plan to get us out of Iran, and he got us out of Iran. And we settled where I now live in Toronto, Canada. It was the single greatest thing he could have done for me and for our family. He took us from a legacy of tyranny to a legacy of freedom.
Amen.
As a result of this, I've become the biggest champion for freedom. I believe every human being inside their heart, their chest beats the living heart of freedom. Everyone wants the chance to chart their own course, live a life of their own choosing. Nobody wants to be told how to live or where to go and what to do. And I have become such a staunch defender for that and for Western civilization, Western values in that regard. And I believe if you're an entrepreneur, the first thing you need to do is study philosophy. Why do you need to study philosophy? Because philosophy informs entrepreneurship. You have to believe in a philosophy of freedom. Without freedom, there can be no free expression. Without free expression, there can be no free enterprise. And without free enterprise, you're not an entrepreneur. You're just a crony capitalist living off of the whims of whoever happens to be in charge.
Or not even so much capitalist, depending on where you're at. You could just be a cog in a system.
There you go. And the truth of the matter is that most people today don't understand that. And that's why I go on so many shows and I talk about my background and I talk about the importance of freedom. And my father, you got to know something about him, Thomas. He's the single greatest man I've ever known. Dad was the kind of man that if he knew you and you were looking for work, he would sit you in his office, pick up the phone and make calls and browbeat his buddies until they give you a job. Like that's how it would go. And you would be starting that day, the next day, and blah, blah, blah. If you were trying to start a business, he would sit down and meet with you. He would give you his best to help you get your business going, including introduce you to people that could be mentors, capital sources, clients, you name it. And if he knew you and you were someone who was trying to buy a car or a house and you didn't quite have enough money, Dad would give you a loan to top you up. And if you tried to pay him back, he never let you pay it back. It was the kind of man he was. And people just today, they go, Nicky, come on, what are you talking about? Who does that? And I go, well, the late, great Napoleon Billou, for one. And why would he do such a thing? And I'd say, well, first of all, he was a devout Christian. He believed he'd been blessed by Almighty God, and it was his duty as a Christian to share those blessings with other people. But secondly, he did it because he could. He was rich. He was successful as an entrepreneur. I wanted to become like him. He would tell me every day, son, life is not about money. It's about people. Business is not about money. It's about people. And I'm like, what are you talking about, Dad? He's saying that person in front of you, that's someone's husband. That's someone's brother. That's someone's son. That's someone's wife. That's someone's daughter. That's someone's sister. That's a hero to somebody. That's somebody who has maybe been disappointed by life a little bit, maybe even disappointed by someone like you who promised them a lot, delivered them nothing. And it's your job to be the kind of person that restores their faith in humanity. And I got into the business of serving entrepreneurs. And one of the first things I saw was that so many entrepreneurs are good at the thing that they do, but they're not good at business. They're not good at selling. They're not good at marketing. They're not good at finance. They're not good at culture and hiring and firing, any of that stuff, especially sales and marketing frightens the hell out of so many people.
That's
Selling,
so
I don't
true.
want to be one of those pushy sales people. And I'm like, yeah, I get it, man. Nobody wants to be one of those pushy salespeople. You don't want to be sold, Thomas. I don't want to be sold. But don't you love it when you're served by a caring human being, someone who's an advocate, someone who cares about you? Don't you just want to give them your money and buy whatever the heck it is that they're selling you? And that's what I realized. And when I showed people just how to be someone who is not a salesperson, but a service person, just reframe that. If you go to serve and you don't go to sell, and that's helped me double, triple, quadruple so many people's businesses. Just that, nothing else. And
It's nice to hear that, Nikki, because I think people, especially, I think it's more affected the youth today in the West, which I don't understand for the life of me how we manage to produce what we have as far as an inability to think things clearly and logically, and I think everything's become so emotional. But what you're describing is someone who has a servant's heart, and having a servant's heart doesn't mean that it must therefore be charity. I think that when you look at least the United States, this is still one of the freest countries on earth. We have more entrepreneurs operating, more small business operating, more small businesses operating. Most people who work in the United States work for a small business. They don't big, there's plenty of big corporations, absolutely big, massive, multi-million dollar corporations, billion-dollar corporations. But the majority of people who work end up working for a small business. And you hear so much of, oh, the evil rich guys, the fat cats, the business owners. The reality is these people, most of them actually do have a servant's heart. They do recognize what you're describing. They recognize that they can positively impact people's lives, and they get a bad rep. Uh, I don't understand why we've come to that point. To me, it's disgusting that we've gotten to that point, and I tend to blame the media and academia. That's just my opinion. But I mean, you're a guy who you left Iran when you were 11 years old. And you probably, as you said, you probably didn't really feel like you wanted to go. Did you recognize then, or at what point did you recognize what your father understood? How long did that take for you for that to click?
I want to just clarify one thing. We actually didn't leave immediately. I left when I was
Okay.
13, so not
13.
11.
Okay.
But it took a few years. I mean, let's be honest. It didn't happen immediately. But by my late teens and early 20s, I was very clear on truly the nobility of my father's actions and the impulse that had him do that. Um, I'm
And
going to tell you this.
think about the impact for a moment that he had, right? And here you are having, now, I don't know where you are compared to your father as far as impacting people, but just the two of you alone. I mean, how many people would you say that you guys have been able to positively impact and make a difference in people's lives?
I mean, my father impacted hundreds, if not thousands, of people on a very personal level. I mean, I'm a
Mhm.
podcast host. I've written a bunch of books. I've sold a bunch of books. I do events. I run business masterminds. I do one-on-one coaching. So I would imagine my impact is in the thousands as well.
So two people can have that kind of impact because of an entrepreneurial spirit and a servant's heart.
Amen, brother.
You can't tell me
Amen.
that that is a bad thing. And yet
It's a great thing.
it is presented as a bad thing. And I don't get that. That is one of these messages I would love to get into the heads of these kids that are coming out of college that somehow don't think that that's a good thing, and it's a bad
Well,
thing.
what's
It's a
happening in North
I get
America
it.
and the West is deliberate. If you've never had a chance to do this, I want you to go onto YouTube and type in Yuri Bezmenov, Bezmenov, and watch his video on the KGB's strategy to demoralize the West. And
I've seen
what
that
is
actually.
happening here is something that was planned and executed. The very openness of Western society was used against it. And unfortunately, it's been successful to a great degree. But nothing happens by accident. God is on our side. God has always put adversity in front of us as part of the growth experience that we have. And look, we're either in end times, which means 90% of humanity is going to die in the next few years, or we're not yet. And we have a chance to fight off and beat the tyrants. That's why people like you, people like me need to keep doing what we do, keep talking on shows, but also keep doing the types of things that you did last week by flying into Tel Aviv and rescuing people. You know, what can I tell you, brother? It's important, and it's something that has to happen. From my point of view, it absolutely has to happen. People need to stand up for what's right, stand up for what they believe in, and they need to push back against these types of narratives. That is the only way we're going to win this fight.
No,
That is the
thank you for
only
that.
way we're going to win this fight.
Yes, thank you for that. I appreciate that, by the way.
Yeah,
Um, and
sure,
yes,
absolutely.
it
My
was
pleasure.
definitely one of the scarier moments of my life. I'll say that, but also one of the
Yeah,
most meaningful and impactful, frankly.
of course.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about business, because I mean you're a business guy, I'm a business guy, and you know we both understand things about business, maybe differences, and but the approach is probably different, but it's the result is the same. You want to do business, you want to build relationships. Rainsky Unleashed is powered by ProfitMax. Did you know that 93% of businesses overpay on their taxes? Do you pay too much in taxes? A recent study showed that businesses are overpaying between 34 and 71%. ProfitMax is proven, legal tax strategy solutions to reduce your tax burden. I'm not only a client, but I even joined the team to help other business owners just like me pay only their fair share and nothing more. Go to profitmax.co. That's profitmax.co. Profitmax.co to find out more. You can even connect with me there, as you should. And I'll help make sure that your tax bill is legally as low as allowed. ProfitMax. Keep your cash. You've helped people get to 7 and 9 figures. You've helped people get up to that 100,000, that 6-figure, that point that most people are just, man, they just wish they could hit that point and they just can't figure out how to do it. And then the 500,000, they just wish that they could get to that point. What's some advice that you want to just throw out there for people? What do you tell people who want to just change their station in life on a financial or business platform?
Well, that's a big question, and
Yes, it
unpacking
is. I like big
unpacking the
questions.
answer is going to probably take the rest of the show because it's not a
Well,
single
let's
answer. Okay,
do the
but
best with it that
let me
you
tell you
can.
the answer. Let me tell you the answer. There are 5 key things that we need to look at. So number one is, as my father said, and my mentor, my business mentor, Mark von Musser says, it's not about numbers, it's about people. Here's the truth. We are living in a time where the average human being, who are our customers and potential customers and buyers, right? They are so sick and tired of being lied to. The government's been lying to them for the last 3 years. Big corporations like Big Pharma have been lying to them for at least 3 years, if not
Oh,
longer.
say it isn't so. Do you
Yeah,
really mean that about
yeah. And
vaccines?
they've evolved, they're sophisticated, and they're done being lied to. They are looking for someone real, someone authentic, someone who gives a good gosh darn. Every human being right now needs somebody to believe in them, somebody to love on them, somebody to care for them, someone who's going to pour into them. And that is my number one differentiator. Like, I know a lot and I am a rock star level thought leader, and I bring amazing strategies and tactics and tips to people. And we'll do that today. But the most powerful thing I got going for me is how much I care about my fellow man, how much I love on them, how much I pour into them, how much I believe in them. Because I fundamentally believe if you're in business today, no matter how successful you are, there are 2 things that are not working for you. One of them is that there are days you don't believe in yourself enough. And those days that you don't believe in yourself enough knock you down. And I don't care if you're a billionaire or if you're someone getting started, that is going to happen to you. Okay. And the second thing is you need to be better at casting your vision and enrolling people into your vision, whether it's selling your programs, selling your ideas, selling your employees. You got to get better at that. So you need someone to believe in you and love on you enough until it ignites and sparks that belief in your own greatness, and that greatness just starts going out into the world. And you need to become better at enrollment and selling your ideas, your visions, your programs, your products. Those two things must happen. If I don't know how big your business is, I don't know how much money you make, Thomas. You and I have not had that discussion. But let's just say that you were at a stage in your life and your business where you were like, I want to double, triple, fivefold, tenfold. Let's say that was where you were at. I'm telling you, if you were sitting in front of me and going, Nicky, what can you do for me? There's a lot I can do for you, but fundamentally, those are the two areas where I know I would, with a small lever, get you the biggest result. Make you believe in yourself at a higher level than you believe in yourself now by me bringing that belief to you first. And secondly, making you a way more effective enroller and salesperson than you currently are. Bottom line, we do that, you're going to win. Now, how do we do that? That's the great question. So number one is come in with the heart of love and caring and bringing that to people. But secondly, you got to teach people how to be seen as a thought leader with a coherent message that solves a problem for people, because business is about nothing but solving problems for people for profit. P. Imagine a Venn diagram: problems, people, profit. That's the purpose of business. You don't get to earn the right to make a profit until you solve problems for people, acute problems that people have. Because after all, why else would someone do business with you? There's a need. There's an issue. There's an itch that needs to be scratched. So we got to help you get that. And for you to be seen as the right solution to that, you can't sound like everybody else. You can't be, saying, me too, me too, me too, me too. You've
Worst way
got
to
to be
sell.
seen as the authority, as the thought leader, as the go-to person in your space. Now, let me tell you a story or two, if you wouldn't mind.
Go ahead.
So I had a client. I'll tell you a story of two of them. A young man, his name was Dan. When he came to see me, he was new in business. He was a personal fitness trainer, and he was making all of $1,300 a month on a good month. Now, we live in Toronto, and this is the New York of Canada. Now, you just think, would you on $1,300 a month be able to live in Manhattan? No freaking
Oh,
way,
God.
right? So
Not even
it
a
was
week.
not going well for Dan. So I go, Dan, talk to me. Who do you help? How do you do it? Oh, he says, man, Nicky, I can help anybody. No, not that. No, I can know, like, they can lose weight. They can get stronger, like all of it. They can have more energy. I'm like, okay, that's not, we need to narrow your focus. He goes, okay. I'm going to help doctors. I go, doctors? Why doctors? Just, well, my dad's a doctor. I love my dad. I go, okay, that's great, Dan. But, why else? Doctors make a lot of money. I'm like, no, Dan, no. He said, oh, I'm doing it. You got maybe one or two clients in 6 months. I go, Danny, we need to change this. It's not working. Okay. I got it. Cardiologist. I ever work with cardiologists? Yeah, I'm at something like cardiologist. Well, why? They make more money than doctors. No, Dan, come on. This is not going to work. It can't be about the money. I'm doing it. You got zero cardiologists sign up with them in 6 months. Danny, we need to change this. And then through serendipity, the good Lord sent Dan a man with a missing limb, a Paralympic athlete named Pepito Wilson. Pepito was an African-Cuban gentleman, lost a leg in a childhood accident. He and Dan did great work together. He helped him win some medals. And then Dan came to me and says, Nicky, I feel like an idiot. I go, why? He says, well, you've been trying to tell me something. I haven't been listening. I said, yeah, that's true. He said, I've been going after the money, and that's really why I'm not making any money. I go, yeah, that's true too. He said,
It's the why. It's the why.
he said to me at that point, I want to help with people with missing limbs. I know how to help them. I said, that's a great idea. You go do that. Now, Thomas, remember he made $1,300 a month on a good month, right? In 6 weeks, Dan signed up 400 new clients. 400. No ad spend. Simply by putting out there and saying, I help people with missing limbs. He was no longer, after he signed up his 10th client, really willing or able to do one-on-one personal training. He had to rethink his whole business model. And in 6 weeks, he went from $1,300 a month on a good month to $100,000 a month on a bad month. On a bad month. Now, you think that's a near hundredfold increase in income simply from coming from his heart, giving a good gosh darn about his fellow man and woman, and getting clear on how to be seen as the go-to authority in a space and not trying to sound like everybody else. And every other trainer would look at people with missing limbs and go, they can't work out. Forget it. Dan's message was so much more powerful. It was not just about, I'm going to help you work out. It was, you can do anything anybody else can do. And I got you. I'm here for you. And that was a message of hope. That was a message of belief. That was a message of looking someone in the eye who's probably gone through something rough, not having all their limbs. You can just imagine that that is not fun for anybody, and making them believe in themselves. So Dan took my dad's belief in people and brought it on steroids to these folks. And he also took, my message of go after an underserved niche and
That's
offer
it.
them a scratch to the itch that they have. And that's how come he took his business from tragic to magic, brother.
So there's a few concepts at play here. One of them, I'm going to quote a billionaire that I heard speak once, and he was incredibly insightful, soft spoken, wise, uh, elderly, so to speak, billionaire. But, he was offering advice and he said, there are riches in niches.
Yeah.
And I believe that because that is something where, when you're trying to serve an underserved market, you have a lot more potential than trying to do what everyone else has. The other thing that you touched on is the importance of belief. You're absolutely right. Too many people do not believe in themselves. They do not believe in their products. They are simply chasing the dollar. I mean, I'll tell you what, Nikki, I'm guilty of that myself. I've made mistakes in my own career because I thought, I'm gonna chase the dollar. I'm gonna go for the dollar. And every time you try and chase the dollar, if you're trying to do it in an honest manner, it's never really gonna work out very well. Now you can chase the dollar in a dishonest manner and be a real dirtbag and probably walk away with a lot of dollars, but you really want to be a dirtbag. That's another story. There's a lot of dirtbags in business. Um, but I agree with you 100% as to what you're saying. A lot of it has to do with belief and finding the itch that needs to be scratched. And everyone has an itch. And I think that's something that most business owners don't recognize because they have their products, they have their services, but they don't necessarily know how to talk to their potential clients to find out what the itch is.
Yeah.
How do you what do you recommend? I mean, listen, you have added millions of dollars in income to business owners. How do you advise them to find out what the itch is? I mean, I know what I believe is the correct answer, but you are the authority on this. If you're talking to 1,000 business owners who are sitting in a stadium right now and they're just wondering, how do you do it? What's the answer?
Well, there's a number of different ways to do it, but the way that I recommend you do it is that you look at what are the big problems that human beings have in business and in life. And if you look at the big three areas, one of them is around money and wealth, right? People want more income, they want to build wealth, and their itch is they don't have enough money. They're worried about taking care of themselves and their family and their loved ones. So that's the big area number one. Second big one is health. There's people who are overweight, have diabetes, have cancer, have mental health issues, you name it. And that is a concern because they don't want to die. They want to enjoy great quality of life. And the third is relationships, love. They're in a relationship that's not working. They're not in a relationship. They're in a relationship that is not working, but it's got no juice, no passion, no fire to it. And if you look at these things, these are all very human things that we all need to deal with. And Thomas, if you needed to make more money, whatever the reason was, that would bother you. That would be an acute problem for you. If you needed to improve your health because you were overweight and you were worried about getting type 2 diabetes and losing limbs, that would
You
bother
take
you.
action. Yeah, you take action.
Yeah, if your wife said, we need to something's got to change or else I'm leaving you, I'm gonna take all your money from you. These are the problems that in the worlds that I operate in, most business people can specialize in scratching one of these itches. And there's variations to each of these, right? Like
Oh, for sure. For sure.
hundreds of variations. Last week, you were called upon to fly to Israel to bring people out of Tel Aviv to safety. So, what is that all about? Well, that's at one level, it's a health issue. Another level, it's a relationship issue, right? There's people who have loved ones and they want them to stay alive. So they're like,
Preferably.
damn, I will pay Thomas Brainsky whatever he asks to scratch my itch. So that's pretty straightforward. You were solving a massive problem. Now, if you were talking to me, I would tell you, so Thomas, right now, there's a lot of situations like that around the world. And I'd say, hey, Thomas, why don't we change all the marketing of your charter service to say, this is what we do. We go and we get your loved ones out of sticky situations. We make sure they live. We make sure that you guys are reunited. And are you kidding me? You know how strong that message is?
That's
You know how
powerful.
incredible that message is? Like you would probably have so many inquiries that you couldn't possibly even field them all. You couldn't even field them all. You think about that. You would have to go, I need to farm out my business to my competitors because I cannot take all of this on. And there's people that are going to die, and I'm a good human being. I'm not going to let that happen. Right? That's how strong that can be. And that's what I would advise somebody to do. You know, I'd also advise people that are in business, you never want to be a gouger to gouge people and take advantage of people. But you also don't want to be one of those people who undercharges and undervalues yourself, because far too many business owners do that. And again, this is in the good human cohort, because like you say, there's some dirtbags, unfortunately, in
Some
business,
plenty
and
of
they'll
dirt
do
bags out
whatever.
there.
But in the
Yes.
good human cohort, undercharging is a bad idea for everyone. It's a bad idea for you and your business because you won't make as much money, but it's a bad idea for your client. Now, why do I say it's a bad idea for your client? Because you're going, are you kidding me? I love to pay less.
Because they don't
Okay,
understand value at that point.
you want to pay less. I get it. You want to pay a fair price for what you do, and if you can get a deal, you always want a deal. Everybody wants a deal. Okay, I get that. But I also want to tell you, I'm going to tell you a story of a couple of clients that I worked with. One of them was my best friend. He was in business for himself. And the other was a man who was not a friend. They're both in similar businesses. And my best friend, I told him, listen, I'm going to coach you for free. Don't worry about it. And this other fellow, the arrangement I made with him, had him pay me over $300,000 over a 2.5 year period.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most people would go, oh, well, your best friend got the best deal out of that one. My best friend got a shit deal out of that one, because 2 months later, he quit. And his business kept stumbling along, never really grew to the capacity it was capable of. Now, this fellow who paid me over $300,000 over a 2.5 year period, he went to $2.5 million a year in profit from zero. He paid me 300 grand. That's a lot of money, but he made 2.5 million. That's a lot more money.
But there's
The
understanding
other fella paid me
value.
nothing.
He didn't
Yeah, the
value the
other fella
service.
paid me nothing,
Yeah.
and he didn't get nothing.
He
When
didn't
you
value the
don't
service.
get what you should get, here's what happens. You don't give what you should give. Money is an energy exchange. You've got to give and get. And the truth of the matter is that undercharging means you won't be given everything because you're going to feel a little bit resentful inside energetically. But also the client isn't going to value it as much. So they're not going to make sure they get their outcome. Now, I have written 10 books and published 10 books. I've written and published 10 books. I've actually written more than 10. And two of them have become New York Times bestsellers, and three or four more have become at least Amazon bestsellers. So I'm what you would call a bona fide best-selling author. All right. And there is a book of mine called The Thought Leader's Journey, which outlines my methodology for how to go from your business right now to adding mid 6 to 7, even 8 figures to it. Okay. You can get this book on Amazon for between $10 and $30, depending on whether you buy, the Kindle or the full color version, the printed one. And on top of that, you can also get it for free because I actually give it away as a giveaway to certain folks. And a few thousand people have gotten this book. Not one person has read the book and added $500,000 or more to their business. Not one. Zero people. Now, I've had hundreds of clients who paid me between $10,000 and $300,000 to work with me. My track record with those hundreds of people is 60% of them have made 6 to 9 figures. 6 to 9 figures, man. You think about
Not
that.
small. That's not
Because
small.
they wanted their money's worth. They were
Yes.
not going to not do the work. So you're cheating your clients when you undercharge. Now, don't gouge. Gouging is disgusting, but don't undercharge, man. Don't do yourself a favor, do your client a favor. Charge them enough so they show up enough that they care and they get what they're looking for.
Nicky, this has been an absolutely fantastic episode. Unfortunately, we are now short on time. If anyone wants to find out more about you, or if there's anything you want to promote, now would be a really great time to tell the world what it is that they can do and how they can find you.
Yeah. So look, Nicky Billou, if you go on any social media platform, my name is unique. I'm the only person in the world named Nicky Billou. Billou is a very unique last name. There's everyone with that last name is pretty much in my family. I think I found somebody who isn't in France, but other than that, everybody else is. So that's how you can just find me. Go on Amazon or wherever podcasts are. I've been on 400 plus shows. I've got 2 shows of my own. That's all easy, low cost ways to check me out. But if you're a business owner and you are someone with an itch that you're looking to scratch in your business, specifically around growing it, making more money, revenue, and go to my website, ecircleacademy.com/appointment, and pick a time on my calendar and tell me that you found me on the Brainsky Show, and let's have a conversation and let's help you scratch that itch.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you again so much for joining the program. Really insightful. Really enjoyed having you.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on the show.